I'm sure you've noticed before that at different eras in the history of the church has been called upon to address different questions and controversies. In the first century, we can tell from the epistles in the New Testament that the Jew-Gentile question dominated the church, how to make sense of this new age in which they were living, and Jew and Gentile coming together. Or you can look at the 4th century and know that the church had to deal with Trinitarian doctrine and heresies, or the 5th century, Christological questions and the two natures of Christ. You could almost track century by century. Of course, you come to the Reformation in the 16th century, that doctrine on which the church stands or falls, the doctrine of justification. It also had everything to do with the doctrine of the church and the sacraments. Or you go to the 17th century and think about the canons of Dort or the debates with the Almoravians and the extent of the atonement and the nature of Reformed faith and the doctrines of grace. Or the 20th century, you might say, the doctrine of Scripture. And it isn't that any of these controversies or questions ever really leave us. They're evergreen. They always come back. But it is true, at different moments in the history of the church, God gives to us different questions and controversies. And many times, I don't know if you're like this, I have thought rather wistfully, if only I could have been born in some other era. And we tend to look very nostalgic at the issues that might have seemed simpler or better or pure or less divisive at other times. I remember reading David Calhoun's wonderful 2-volume history of old Princeton and feeling sort of nostalgic for those good old days. And then I read this paragraph that Charles Hodge medical treatment was to attach 15 leeches, and I thought, nostalgia gone. But it's tempting to think, oh, if only we were in some other era. Oh, if the 16th, that would have been wonderful. Justification by faith and imputation and versus inherent and imputed righteousness. Oh, that would be great to get into all. But of course, none of those things felt easy in the 16th century. By some distance, perhaps, and because we have now confessional markers, they can seem safe, but they weren't safe in the 16th century. It was divisive. It was difficult. I'm sure they wish they had been in some other century. So we cannot choose the times in which we live and the issues that come to us to be dealt with. And I don't think I'm stating anything controversial when I say that in the first half of the 21st century, the issue facing the Church of Jesus Christ, at least in the West, is the issue of anthropology. Sex, gender, race, ethnicity, abortion, LGBTQ, and all of the letters and all of the initials. These are issues of anthropology. Who are we? What does it mean to be human? How do we understand our desires? What should we do or not do with our bodies? What is the truest part of me? What makes me really me? What is my identity? On all of these points, our world is massively confused.